Hello, welcome to episode 39 of the Preferred Experience podcast. I'm titling today's episode, What is Bonking During Exercise? And I've learned recently to look up the definitions of things and looked up the word bonk. And in other countries, it doesn't necessarily mean a good thing. But I'm going to share an experience that I had this last weekend at the Grand Canyon. And we've always called it, in the endurance world, called it a bonk. And I definitely experienced that this last weekend. So I'm going to share that with you today with the hopes of helping you to be able to do your best at the Grand Canyon when we all go in a couple of weeks. We have an awesome group going. This month's been dedicated to the Grand Canyon for all those that are going to be going this month. We're doing some episodes to help you to be able to do your best. We want to help you to do your best at it. And so we had Dan on last week, if you didn't see that episode. And he shared different shoes, different things he sells at Cadence Running Company. And remember, you get 15% off at Cadence Running Company as a CrossFit Preferred member. So if you bring up that you go to CrossFit Preferred, you get 15% off. And they have the best stuff. We've been able to help a lot of people get awesome shoes that are just right for them, packs, nutrition, all kinds of different things. Then the week before that, episode 37, I went over gear that I was taking to the Grand Canyon. I've since come up with a couple other things, and we'll be getting a gear list together that we'll put in the members group and in a post for those that follow CrossFit Preferred. So excited to do that, but I'm going to start with the definition of what bonking is during exercise. So it says hitting the wall or the bonk is a condition of sudden fatigue and loss of energy, which is caused by the depletion of glycogen stores in the liver and muscles. Milder instances can be remedied by brief rest and the ingestion of food or drinks containing carbohydrates. This can happen in CrossFit. If you come to, sometimes I'll have people show up to the gym that in the mornings, usually during intros, we've noticed we'll have some people show up and they'll do a workout and they'll get pretty out of energy, lightheaded, just don't feel great. And we ask them what they had for breakfast, and sometimes they'll say, "Oh, I didn't have anything." And for some people, you can do that. There are people that come in and do intermittent fasting and it works for them. But I believe it's something you really need to practice doing to be able to do that. But for a lot of people, a little carbohydrate before you work out is going to help you to do your best. And carbohydrates are what fuel us. It's energy during our workouts. And when you're doing an endurance event, like we're going to be doing at the Grand Canyon in a couple weeks, you really have to have a plan and a strategy for that. And today, or next Wednesday, Tirsa and I will be having a nutrition episode, and we'll be about a little over a week out from the canyon. And we'll be discussing the different things you can do to prepare for it throughout the week, good things you can eat, how you can hydrate, how you can take on a little more salt, that kind of stuff, just to be able to hold in that hydration. And all that really makes a big difference. And then what you have during the workout it's a huge part too. It's so important. It's like trying to drive your car without gas. If you don't have gas, it's not going to go anywhere. Sometimes, I'm in the car business too. Family has Le Sueur Car Company, for those that don't know. And we sometimes have cars that when they're not running in their top shape, they will go into what's called the limp mode. And I would say I experienced that this last week as I went up the Grand Canyon. So I'm going to share that story with you right now. And normally wouldn't spend as much time as I'm going to share on myself, but I'm hoping by the experience that I share, that you'll be able to get something out of it that'll help you to be able to do your best. So this last weekend, the last little while, I've been training for the Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim. And for those that don't know it, it's from the south side of the Grand Canyon to the north side of the Grand Canyon, and then back to the south side of the Grand Canyon. And it's about 48 miles. It has about 11,700 feet of climbing. It has a descent of right around 11,000 feet. And, I would have thought before I knew any better, that, a descent's going to help you, but it doesn't. It really just can destroy your legs. And I'd learned that in the past. So I'd heard, and I'd shared this last week and the week before, that I bought hiking poles. And I'm happy to report that those poles made a huge difference in how my legs felt and my joints felt. Like my knees felt incredible. My legs felt great. For what we're doing for the 16 to 17 mile hike in a couple weeks, I've done it every time without poles and been fine, but I'm going to bring my hiking poles, and I loved them. They were awesome. So I don't want to do any hiking without them again, especially if it's longer distance. But we got in there. We got up to the Grand Canyon Friday night, right around 6 o'clock, somewhere in that area, 6:30. And we needed to drop off a car, or wanted to drop off a car at the south side. We had decided that we were going to hike down Bright Angel, and then we were going to hike up the North Rim and then hike back up South Kaibab. And that was a really hard way to do it. Our friend Dan encouraged us to do that. That's one of the hardest ways you can do the Grand Canyon. So we wanted to get the full experience, and we sure did get that. So we showed up 6 o'clock. We dropped off the car, and took us a little while to get that all figured out, where to do it, and then drove back to our hotel, got stuff together. We weren't really ready for bed probably till about 9:30ish, somewhere in that area, which any other day that'd be great. But we were getting up at 2 in the morning or 2:30 in the morning to be able to hike at 3:30 in the morning. We started our hike at 3:30 in the morning in the pitch dark and in the cold. And it was awesome. It was so cool out there. Well, that morning I woke up about 1:55, right in that area, and I just couldn't go back to sleep. I knew I was getting up in 30 minutes, and it seemed like everyone was awake in our room. So we all got up and started eating some breakfast, getting ready for the day. I'd had really just didn't sleep that great, but I knew there was a chance I wouldn't. So I really focused on the sleep Thursday night and Wednesday night last week to be able to get my energy levels up. And then we headed over to the trail. We woke up at our hotel. It was like 32 or 33 degrees, something like that. So where we're staying at the Red Feather Inn is where I stayed last weekend. It was in the low 30s at 3 in the morning. Crazy thing though, when we got to the Grand Canyon, to the rim, it was about 10 degrees warmer, luckily. So it was about 43 degrees. And it must have, all I can think is, it's pretty vertical down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon, and it kind of mimics our climate here in the Phoenix area, Gilbert area. And all I could think is maybe that heat comes up from the bottom. I haven't really looked into that yet, but I think there's a good chance. So it was a little warmer. We also had a little warmer than normal weather the last week or two here in the Gilbert area. And so 43 degrees, we started. There was actually a good amount of people out there that were doing rim to rim to rim, and people had come from all over the world really to do it. It's a big thing to do. It had been on my list for over 10 years and was something that I wanted to do, but definitely had a little fear to it. It seemed really pretty crazy, but this was the year, and we got it done. So we started hiking down the trail. It's pitch dark. The stars were amazing. We'll have to decide what time we're going to start our South Rim hike when we go. But man, if we can be there when it's a little dark and as the sun's coming up, there's nothing better than that at the Grand Canyon. So we'll have to all decide what time is going to work the best and go from there. But it's incredible there. So we hiked down. We're feeling great. We made it down to Phantom Ranch within a few hours, which that isn't too terribly far. We hiked it the whole time. It was pretty steep to run and a little hard to run it in the dark. Some parts we could, but for the most part, we just hiked the majority of it, made it down there, and then started heading up the what we thought was the North Rim, and we started going up the South Kaibab Trail. I'd never been to the North Rim, and we were a little bit off, and we ended up going the wrong way for about a half mile. So I believe we put about an extra mile in that area, and turned around and went back to the North Rim, started going up it, and I was feeling good at that point. Didn't feel like I wanted to run real hard. I'd been told that it was super flat on the way up to the North Rim until you got to the switchbacks. I didn't really feel it was that way. It was a little more of a gradual climb, and started to feel pretty depleted. I'd got off my nutrition plan that I had going into it. I just lost track of time and started to get low on energy as we were running through that supposedly flat trail that was a gradual climb. And it started to feel tough around a little bit after Phantom Ranch. And we still had about 12 miles to go, somewhere in that area from the top. And so to the top. So started going up the North Rim. And by the time I got to the switchbacks, I was feeling very depleted. I'd been taking in nutrition, thought I was doing a good job, but somewhere I got a little off, and learned a lot of things this weekend on electrolytes. And I've done tons of long distance stuff, but nutrition's a really tricky thing to figure out. In my mind, I thought, I don't need as much nutrition. I'm hiking and not running. But I was still exerting a lot of energy and ended up using more calories than I expected. And so got a little depleted, still was able to move forward. I'd take some breaks here and there as we're going up the North Rim. The North Rim climbs about 6,000 feet. So it's not something that is super easy. It doesn't really give up as you're going. It doesn't really get flat spots. So it's like pretty much always climbing for about 6,000 feet. And when you're feeling like you're bonking, it doesn't feel really good. So we ended up doing that, getting up to the top. And as we got closer, I had gone, my sister went, her friend had gone, and then Shane from Arizona, that many of you know, went with us. And they were able to pull ahead from me at that point, get to the top, and they got to the top, and they were really concerned about me as I was making my way up and had been talking, and I got up there and we started talking, and they were saying, maybe you should get a ride back to the South Rim. And I wasn't at a point where I felt just beat. Like, it was hard. It was definitely hard. But I'd experienced that feeling before of bonking and running out of calories. And I knew what I was feeling was more calorie depletion than anything. And one of the things that you can do, it actually happened to me at a Spartan race last year. It's not something that normally happens to me, but the last 2 times I've done some long events, it did happen to me, and I'm constantly learning how to get that nutrition right. So I sat up there. It was a little warm on the way up the North Rim. It was in the 80s, but we had the sun right on us on the switchbacks. And as we're going up, feeling hot and breathing hard, not feeling great, but not feeling queasy, not feeling sick to my stomach. Just I'm putting a lot of energy, a lot of effort into climbing up that hill. And Eric, if you're on here, if you've done the Grand Canyon, I have no doubt you could do it. So I hope you're coming with us in a couple of weeks. I see you just made a comment. But as we're going up there, I get up there. I called Tirsa for a minute and tell her, it's been a challenge. And but I also wanted to just let her know how far we'd made it. And it took us almost 10 hours to get from the south side to the north. So we had planned on that taking maybe like 8 in that area or less, and took a little longer. And got up there, started taking in calories, started drinking some cold water. The water's really cold on the North Rim. And got my head wet, got my face wet, my neck. I got a little towel that cools you down. It's a cooling towel. I found at Cadence last week, and that really helped me feel a lot better. And then we started to go, and Tirsa called me, and she was concerned. My sister had called her, and was super. They were concerned about me, and I knew that I could make it. I never had quit in my mind, and so I told Tirsa I was going to be okay. She was a little nervous, like my good wife would be, and we made it. So ended up going back down the North Rim, and I sent Shane and Kelsey's friend ahead. They wanted to run a little more, and I asked my sister to go. She wouldn't leave me. She stayed with me, and we hiked down. I took in a lot of calories for the next 5 miles as we made it down the switchbacks, and we got down to an area called actually just after the switchbacks. I think it's Cottonwood right there. Refilled our water, and we attempted running, and Kelsey and I were able to run miles 30 through about 40 after getting my nutrition right and just pulling it together. I wasn't happy with how I'd performed to that point, and I really wanted to pull off a better day. So started running, and we were able to run miles 30 through 40, and we ended up catching Shane and my sister's friend Kristen at the bottom and at Phantom Ranch, and then we were able to hike up South Kaibab the rest of the night. We finished around 9-ish at night, so right in that area. So it was a long day. It was over 18 hours of being out there, and it was really good, but had some huge takeaways this weekend. Felt super proud that I was able to run, to be honest. And so did everyone else. They did incredible as we went. They did an awesome job. I'm just super proud to have been able to go do that with each of them. And it was a really cool experience for all of us, and everyone did awesome. Hiking up the South Kaibab was tough. There is no water on the South Kaibab Trail when you go up it. So if you're going to do that one during the day, I would recommend making sure you have more than enough water. Plus it's exposed. My friend Grant was actually there this weekend, and he hiked up it. Said it was really hard. The way we're planning to do the trip is in a couple of weeks is we're going to do South Kaibab down to Phantom Ranch, then back up Bright Angel. And the way we're going, there's a lot of water between Phantom and Bright Angel. So you'll be fine on hydration. We'll help you on any of your nutrition needs if you have any questions. It really is the time to start trying different things now. One of the gels I mentioned last week that's really helped me in the past is the Marten gel. It's Maurten. Cadence sells them. They're awesome. They'll help bring you back to life. And then we'll go over more of this next week, but it just makes a big difference to have the right nutrition as you're going. But really, you don't want to wait until game day to practice that nutrition. You really want to be able to try that on your hikes the next couple weeks. Even if it's a little shorter, if you're going over an hour, you really need nutrition. It's really going to make a big difference for you and how you feel. So practice taking in either a gel, or you can use stuff like Tailwind, electrolyte mix. You could also use some like Cliff Shot blocks. Those are really good. Honey Stinger has awesome stuff. There's so many good different things now. That industry has grown so much since I started doing this. There were not as many options 12 to 15 years ago when I started doing this. So start trying them now, and you'll be able to do that. The other thing that made a huge difference that I learned this weekend, I've never taken in as much sodium as I did this weekend. And after studying it the last little while since last year and some other races, I've really learned that makes a huge difference, because it makes it so you can retain the water that you're taking in. If you're not getting enough electrolytes, mainly sodium and potassium and magnesium, all that kind of stuff, you're going to get rid of all that hydration a lot faster than you want to a lot of times. So it's really important to be able to experiment with that. Our friend Dan, we were talking to last week, if you listen to it, shared that he takes around 700 milligrams of sodium an hour when he's doing this stuff. I ended up doing closer to 1,000 after crashing and burning up the North Rim, and really learned that made a huge difference for me and how I felt and was able to perform. So that, I hope, helps you. It was awesome. Recovering now, the last couple of days, really focused on sleep and doing workouts that are more like core and stretching type stuff, and a lot of body weight stuff, and it's made a big difference. And I'm starting to feel great again. I'll be able to run here in the next day or two, and it's been an awesome thing. But next week, don't forget, we're going to have a nutrition episode. We're going to go over how to do your best in the Grand Canyon, how to prepare that week, how to have the best strategy for nutrition during the hike, and then also recovery after the Grand Canyon. So we're excited for it. Any of you that were able to see this on here, remember that you can always listen to it on a podcast, any of your favorite podcast channels. So we're on Apple, on Spotify, on Anchor, all kinds of different ones. And we'd love for a review on any of those. We'd love a review on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever you see us, on YouTube, any of those things, Google. It makes a huge difference for us, helps us to be people to know more about us, and will help us to continue to make the gym better and to make this podcast better. But I hope that helped you today. Thanks for listening, and have a great week, and we will see you soon. Thanks a lot. We'll see you. Bye.